All right, let's get right into the science of muscle. Today, we are tackling a huge question that lifters have been debating for decades. Is all muscle growth actually the same? Are the muscles you build for that huge pumped look the same as the ones you build for raw, pure strength? Well, the answer might just change the way you train for good.
It all starts with something we've probably all felt, and it's super frustrating. You're training hard, chasing the pump, your arms are getting bigger, you're feeling great, but then life happens. You take maybe a 2-week break for vacation, and when you get back, it feels like all those hard-earned gains have just vanished. Why on earth does that happen?
And this right here, a comment from a lifter online, absolutely nails the mystery we're diving into. He noticed that the size he built with those high-rep, short-rest workouts seemed to disappear fast, while the muscle he built with heavy, low-rep training felt more permanent, almost denser. What he's talking about is the very real difference between two totally distinct types of muscle growth.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into what these two types of muscle growth actually are. Then, we're going to trace the science, from old-school gym theories to some really cutting-edge research. After that, we'll turn all that science into practical advice you can use in the gym tomorrow. And finally, show you how to put it all together to build your best physique yet.
To really get this, just picture two classic figures in the gym. On one hand, you've got the powerlifter, incredibly strong, dense, but maybe not as huge as you'd think for the insane weight they're moving. And on the other hand, you have the bodybuilder, big, voluminous, with that full, almost inflated look. They train completely differently, and it turns out their muscles are actually growing in different ways.
And this is the core of it all. There are two fundamentally different ways your muscles can get bigger. First, you've got myofibrillar hypertrophy. This is all about building that dense muscle that's designed for pure force. Then you have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which builds that puffy, high-volume muscle. The easiest way to think about it, one is like building a bigger, stronger engine, the other's like expanding the fuel tank around it.
Okay, so first up, myofibrillar hypertrophy. Think of this as building the actual engine of your muscle. We're talking about the growth of the contractile proteins, actin and myosin. These are the tiny fibers that literally pull on each other to create force. The more of these you have, or the thicker they get, the denser and stronger your muscle becomes. This is true functional growth that makes you genuinely, measurably stronger.
Now on the flip side, we have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. This is all about increasing the volume of the sarcoplasm, which is kind of like the jelly-like fluid inside the muscle cell. This fluid is packed with stuff that supports the muscle, like glycogen for fuel and water, but these things don't generate force themselves. This type of growth makes the muscle physically larger and fuller, kind of like pumping up a water balloon. It adds serious size, but not necessarily a ton of strength to go with it.
So the big question is this just bro science? Honestly, for a long time, a lot of experts thought so. This whole idea of puffy muscle versus dense muscle was often just dismissed as a myth. But the science has come a really long way. Let's take a look at the journey that took this idea from a controversial theory to a hard, measurable fact.
So the idea really went mainstream with this hugely influential book, Science and Practice of Strength Training. But here's the problem. Their diagram, which was trying to show that the myofibrils inside a muscle fiber were growing, was widely misinterpreted. A ton of people looked at it and thought it meant you could actually grow new muscle fibers, which led to years and years of confusion and some pretty heated debates.
Man, the journey for this concept was a total roller coaster. It started as an observation by Soviet scientists back in the 60s, then it became this popular but misunderstood theory in the 2000s, and then it got hit with a wave of skepticism from the scientific community. And here's the thing. For decades, we just didn't have the technology to look inside a single muscle fiber and see what was really going on. Many top scientists just flat out called it a myth.
But then, in 2019, that all changed. A landmark study came out that finally gave us the evidence everyone was looking for, and it basically turned the whole debate on its head.
So in this game-changing study, they took a group of guys who were already trained lifters and put them through 6 weeks of super high-volume training. At the end of it, the researchers measured their muscle fibers and found, yep, a 15% increase in size. Their muscles got bigger. Okay, no big surprise there, right?
But this is the finding that sent shockwaves through the fitness world. When they actually analyzed what grew, they found that the 15% size increase came with 0 increase in the actual force-producing proteins actin and myosin. The engine didn't get bigger at all. Instead, the growth was from an increase in the fluid and other proteins around the engine.
This was the smoking gun. It proved directly that you can make a muscle larger without adding more contractile tissue. That pump wasn't just a temporary feeling. It was a trigger for a very real, measurable type of growth.
Okay, so the science is fascinating, but how do we actually use this in the gym? How do we take this knowledge and put it into practice? Let's break down exactly what you can change in your training to target one type of growth over the other. This table right here, this is basically your cheat sheet for the gym. If you want to build that dense, strong myofibrillar muscle, you need to focus on high mechanical tension. That means heavy weights in the 1 to 5 rep range with long rests, like 3 to 5 minutes, so you're fully recovered for your next set. But if you want to maximize size and that sarcoplasmic growth, you've got to chase the pump. The key here is metabolic stress. You get that from higher reps, shorter rests, and a ton of volume. So when you're training for myofibrillar growth, your mission is simple: get stronger. You're trying to create as much mechanical tension as you can. We're talking heavy squats, deadlifts, bench presses. The main goal isn't the pump, it's forcing those muscle fibers to adapt and become stronger and denser so they can handle that heavy, heavy load.
Now, to target that sarcoplasmic growth, you want to create a totally different feeling in the muscle. You want that burn. You want that skin-splitting pump. That feeling is metabolic stress, and it's caused by the buildup of byproducts in the muscle. It's a signal that tells the muscle it needs more energy on hand. So what does it do? It adapts by storing more fluid and more fuel, and that's what leads to that full, rounded, pumped-up look.
And for anyone who wants a really advanced technique for this, check out Sarcoplasmic Stimulation Training, or SST. Now, this is a pretty brutal method designed specifically to create massive metabolic stress. It uses a bunch of sets to failure with tiny rest periods, followed by drop sets with different tempos, and even static holds. It's a scientifically backed way to get the biggest sarcoplasmic stimulus in the shortest time possible. So, this brings us to the ultimate question, right? Which style is better? Should you be training like a powerlifter for that dense, strong muscle, or like a bodybuilder for that full, voluminous look? Well, the real answer is you've got to do both.
Thinking you have to choose between being strong or being big is just a false choice. It's not one or the other. The most impressive, well-rounded physiques are built by intelligently combining both styles of training. You want a physique that's not just for show, you want it to have the performance to back it up. The smartest way to train is a power-building hybrid approach. Let's make it super practical. Imagine it's your leg day. You build your foundation with heavy squats, let's say 4 sets of 5 reps, resting 3 full minutes. That's building your engine. Then you add the volume. You move on to something like lunges for 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, and finish with leg extensions for 2 crazy high-rep sets of 15 to 20, resting only a minute. That's what inflates the chassis. You get the absolute best of both worlds, a physique that is every bit as strong as it looks.
And this comment just sums it up perfectly. This is the modern, evidence-based approach that so many successful lifters use. It's not about choosing one path. It's about walking both. You get the raw strength and density from the heavy lifting, and you get the size and fullness from the volume training, all while keeping your joints healthy. So, this leaves us with a final thought. Now that you understand these 2 different ways to grow, you have the power to be the architect of your own physique. You can move beyond just following some cookie-cutter program and start making smart choices about your reps, your rest, and your exercises to build the exact look and performance you're after.
Remember, science is always evolving. To make sure you don't miss the next scientific analysis and protocol, don't forget to turn on notifications and subscribe. See you in the next videos, and let's meet in the comments to discuss what topic we should cover next.